Welcome to the 2017 Bellevue City Council Candidates Forum, hosted by the Bellevue Downtown Association. My name is Patrick Bannon. I'm president of the Bellevue Downtown Association. It is a privilege to welcome you. I would like to begin by thanking our Breakfast Series sponsors for the year. If you could join me in a round of applause after I name these three important BDA members, please join me. So we have Puget Sound Bank, Kaiser Permanente, and Fortin Group. Please join me in thanking our sponsors. So in addition to the council members, the incumbents who are joining us on stage, I did see a couple, at least, elected officials who have also joined us. And if you could join me in recognizing Bellevue Mayor John Stokes, City Council Member Kevin Wallace, and if there's another elected official here, could you give me the high sign? I didn't see one. Okay, good. Yes, Mr. Morcos. Yep, Alex Morcos, Medina Mayor. And City Manager Brad Miyake. So our purpose this morning is to dive deeper into the views and issues that are at the forefront for the city of Bellevue, that are important to downtown, and most importantly, important to our candidates who are in the race for a city council seat. There is so much dialogue going on at the national scene about what's next. And as we know, so much of our lives are affected by what happens at the local level. And we've seen over time that leadership matters, and we want to continue to encourage our leaders to embrace the community, to look for opportunities to collaborate, and help move us forward in a constructive manner. The BDA foundationally promotes a healthy dialogue for our community. We want to create a forum for addressing some of our core issues that are important to downtown's growth and long-term success. The BDA does not endorse candidates in races, nor do we fund any campaigns. We don't have a political action committee, so we are here to promote a healthy dialogue. We also ask, of course, candidates to support the BDA's mission of strengthening downtown Bellevue as an economic and cultural heart for the community. So you'll see that some of the questions from our moderator do reflect some downtown focus, but in general are looking at the health of the community as a whole. It is a great pleasure to introduce our moderator now, who will then lead us through the questioning. I believe we have 6 questions, and there's an opening statement, a closing statement. We are joined this morning by Carrie Rodriguez. She is a regional editor with Sound Publishing, and she is editor for the Bellevue Reporter, the Sammamish-Issaquah Reporter, and the Mercer Island Reporter. So if you could join me in a very warm BDA welcome for Carrie Rodriguez.
Hi there, my name is Carrie Rodriguez, and as Patrick said, I'm regional editor of the Bellevue Reporter. And I first wanted to put my team on the spot and introduce them. We have our publisher, Eric LaFontaine. Will you please stand up? We have our reporter, Rachel Dawson, and our sales director, Jim Gottens. Thank you for being here. Look at us, we're at the center of democracy here, making informed decisions. Thank you all for being here so early. I wanted to just really quickly go over a few ground rules for the candidates. I'm gonna ask all the candidates the same questions, and we're gonna group the questions by council position. We're gonna rotate the positions so that one person isn't going first each time, out of fairness. There will be
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First, thanks for coming out and sharing breakfast with us, and thanks for the association for putting this event on. Appreciate it. I've been a resident of East Bellevue for 30 years now. I met a girl, moved to Bellevue, and got married. But I've lived here all my life. I grew up in Western Washington, and I watched the snow that once covered the Cascades and the Olympics pretty much year-round. Well, it's gone in June. We've got several times the number of people here that we used to, but the air is cleaner. I used to regularly have problems breathing well, right about now because of air inversions and too much pollution, so things are better. There are some who say that everything's great here. We're growing, we're strong, everything's good. The economy's booming, and that's true. There are others of us who don't entirely
And time's
agree.
up, sorry.
Yeah.
Conrad Lee.
Good morning. I'm Conrad Lee, council member for over 23 years. I have a record in shaping and helping what Bellevue is today. Mostly good, and some maybe not so good, depending on your perspectives. But records are here for everyone to see. I'm consistent, time-tested, no surprises. I'm the steady hand on the wheel. I'm the council's fiscal hawk. Former Attorney General Ron McKenna said that Conrad Lee is Bellevue taxpayers' best friend. I only budget what we need, not what we can tax. Bellevue has been well served by that philosophy. Bellevue is a good city. We now have the opportunity to be a great city. It's good to see new blood on the panel, all wanting to do what they believe good for Bellevue, with lots of
Time.
different.
Sorry, Conrad.
Wow.
Carol
Thank
Brown.
you.
Okay, 1 minute is very short. Hi, good morning. My name's Carol Brown, and I am running for Bellevue City Council position number 4 because I believe that together we can build a better Bellevue. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a Washington native. I have 2 immigrant parents, and I graduated from the UW, go Dogs, with degrees in economics and international studies. I got married, I had a child, but 2 days after my 25th birthday, my husband was killed in a car accident and left me a widow with an infant son. And I decided I needed to go back to school and get an education because that was the way to pull myself and my son out of struggling. I got accepted to both my dream schools. I got a public policy degree, a master's degree from Harvard, a law degree from Yale, and a mountain of student debt to go with it. But I've lived here in Bellevue for about 16 years. My immigration firm is here in Bellevue, and I believe that I can help represent diverse communities here in Bellevue. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Jared Newenhouse.
Correct, Newenhouse. Good morning. Thank you, BDA, for putting on this great event. I always get excited my name is spelled correctly, so we're off to a great start this morning. I'm a first-generation American as well, and I live with my family in the Lake Hills area. I've lived there for 16 years with my wife, Lori, and our beautiful daughter. I have a long track record of giving back to Bellevue and being engaged in this community. I proudly serve on the Parks and Community Services Board. I'm also on the board of LifeWire, which is a domestic violence prevention organization. Also serve on the board of the Sophia Way, which deals with women experiencing homelessness. I'm also on the Lake Hills Neighborhood Association, and I'm also chair of the Public Affairs Committee with the Bellevue Chamber of Commerce. I'm running because I believe Bellevue is a special place to live, play, and work. I'm running for Bellevue because I believe that we need to reestablish the Bellevue way. Many of you have heard me say this before, but I want substantial citizen involvement, making common sense decisions for what's best for our neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Philip Yin.
That was really good. I'm using up all my seconds. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you believe that your hard work has led to the success of your organization and ultimately hard work pays off? We face an issue here in Bellevue and across this state. Overburdening government regulations are like penalties against the Seahawks. You can't have 100 yards of penalties and expect to win these games. I'm going to work hard to help you to have more efficient regulations We need to have more reasonable regulations. We need to support our businesses. I've made a lifetime commitment in advising, investing, and supporting small businesses across this city and across this state. I can assure you that as a Husky, you've got a good friend on your shoulders, and I will make sure that you have a very open door policy when we get into office. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Zahn?
Well, thank you, BDA, for having me here. I'm excited to be here. My name is Janice Zahn. I believe Bellevue is a thriving East Side leader, and we need to continue to be that way. I chose to make Bellevue our home 23 years ago to raise our family because we have incredible schools, parks, a thriving center, and we need proven leaders that can hit the ground running and be that leader at the helm of this ship. I have been involved on the Transportation Commission, PTA, Girl Scouts, spent many, many years volunteering in the community, and that matters. Because while Bellevue has experienced incredible growth, I think we can all agree that our infrastructure has felt the strains of our success. What we need are folks that have that proven leadership to bring people together to get things done, to make sure that Bellevue continues to thrive as the leader on the east side. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Fricke?
Once again, thank you to BDA for giving me the opportunity to meet you, introduce myself. Last spring, when I decided to run for city council, I was encouraged by both city leaders, business leaders, and neighborhood groups. Basically, as I've been doorbelling, the reason why people with their support and their encouragement is because they wanted an independent thinker, a person that valued transparency, valued the voice in city government. Whether I'm knocking on Maidenbauer Park's doors, Eastgate, Bridle Trails, and the business EBA, when I was talking to them, they were very frustrated with the city. There was nobody listening to them. I promised to be an advocate, as I have been in my job, bring my technical, my engineering experience, and my legal experience to move Bellevue forward to the opportunities and challenges it has. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Robinson?
Well, thank you, BDA and Carrie, for having us here. It's a beautiful day in Bellevue and to be at the Bellevue Club. My name is Lynn Robinson. I'm running for re-election to the Bellevue City Council, and a lot has happened in the last 4 years since I was first elected. We're now home to over 45 corporate headquarters. Our number of small businesses, including startups, has grown, and we expect those numbers to double by 2019. We anticipate over 4,000 new tech jobs coming into Bellevue in the next 6 years. We're seeing the expansion of Lincoln Center. We've completed the circle at the downtown park and added the Inspiration Playground thanks to the Rotary Club. Downtown development has increased over 20%, and our council is currently working on a downtown livability plan that will allow increased density and height while inspiring improved livability and design. MyBuildingPermit.com is up and running and processed 75% of our permit applications in 2016. I've brought lots of positive change to Bellevue.
Time. Thank you,
Proud
Lynn.
Of our city, and thank you.
Okay, now for the fun. We're going to start with the questions. We have 6 questions, and candidates, you will have 1 minute each to respond. And we are going to begin with Carol Brown. First question is, what are the top 2 issues facing the city, and briefly explain why?
I believe affordable housing and transportation are the 2 most important issues facing our city. Our housing prices went up 16% in the last year, and while that's generated a lot of revenue from property taxes here in Bellevue, it is also pricing seniors out of their home. It's making young people stay with their parents, I know personally, for a lot longer than their parents might like. And it's making it difficult for people who have jobs here in Bellevue to live here. It means they live farther away. Only 10% of our Bellevue firefighters, for instance, live here in Bellevue. We need to make sure that it's a supply and demand problem, basic economics. We need to increase our supply of affordable housing and make sure that we focus it along transit routes so that people can go from their apartment to a light rail and to their job and back again without actually having to turn on an engine and without adding to our already congested traffic. We also need to make sure that our traffic is engineered well so our traffic can move.
Thank you. By the way, candidates, if at any time you need me to repeat a question, then please ask. Jared.
Yeah, just two. First, I'd say homelessness. That's an ever-increasing issue that we have here on the east side, and I want to see the city of Bellevue be proactive about our approach. Certainly, we do not want to go down the path that Seattle has in terms of their approach to dealing with this issue. It is coming, it's going to be, and this is someone who's a homeless advocate who understands that this issue is ever-increasing, perhaps not seen day to day as much as you do see in Seattle, but it's becoming an issue, and we need to figure out a way to build a homeless shelter, but in a way that is going to be able to provide exceptional mitigation to the neighborhoods. The second issue that I would add on top of that, a more immediate one, is the thought that we need to have a heroin injection site in Bellevue, or anywhere in King County, but especially in Bellevue. We need to stay away from that. It's the wrong thing for Bellevue. It's the wrong thing for our community and for our neighborhoods. And the data doesn't support in any way, shape, or form that it actually helps people get off of opioids or heroin. And I'd like to make sure that does not happen in Bellevue. Thank you.
Janice?
I would say that both our challenges have to do with our growth, which is we have grown so quickly. How do we deal with the transportation and the housing affordability issues in our city? And they are interrelated, because when we look at our land use policies, they absolutely drive transportation and housing affordability challenges. I think that the other thing is the city needs to be looking at those policies that are well-intentioned and aren't working. So we have an MFTE that should be helping us with more affordable housing. It's not created any yet. So what do we need to do to change up those policies that may be too restrictive and is actually creating challenges to that? And then on transportation, how do we advocate to build the transportation infrastructure faster, move the 405 master plan, go down to Olympia and advocate for the things that we need to make sure that Bellevue continues to have transportation that works for us to move goods, services, and people.
Philip?
I believe that we should take control of our own destiny. As the fantastic city that we are, we shouldn't be told how to run our city by legislators or bureaucrats, either in King County or in Olympia or for any other place for that matter. Bellevue has some fantastic leaders, many of them in this room, and we are perfectly capable of managing our own destiny. Obviously, we should be advocates of things that we have to collaborate on, but certainly we have to remain an independent city and not be told where to put things, where to build things, and how to conduct our business. The second thing I would say is that certainly managing growth, obviously a key issue. In the thousands of neighbors that I've door knocked and I've spoken to, a very simple thing, such as people following UPS trucks around and stealing packages, something as simple as that. We do not have the police force to support and protect our city, but those are the issues that a fast-growing city ultimately faces, and we have to do everything we can to make sure that our citizens are well represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because actually what I'm hearing from people are three things. The first is traffic, which is in many neighborhoods atrocious. 45 minutes for a bus ride from Crossroads to downtown. I can walk about that fast. We need more routes, we need better routes that will make taking bus easy and reasonable for people, and that's the only solution. The second thing is the cost of housing, the rising cost of housing. 16% growth is not sustainable. The question is, what happens when it's no longer sustained? But it really comes down to two things. One is vision, and the other is listening. More than anything else, I'm hearing that people are not connecting with the city. They're not being heard, and the city isn't being heard in return. We need to fix that.
Conrad?
Fiscal management. We heard that a lot of issues people want, and it's the people that we have to be concerned with. We have to take care of them. One of the specific things is traffic congestion. Neighborhoods are being affected, and quality of life is affected because of all the things we talked about. Housing costs. How can they be more affordable for everybody? And in order to do that, we have to have good prudent fiscal policy. That's what the council is here to do. And I think over time, we have seen that Bellevue has done very well, and we want to continue this. And we are experiencing a great economic prosperity, but it's not going to last forever. I know that business people, Bellevue Downtown Association, are very interested. Most of you are. How do we maintain all this fiscal management, prudent fiscal control, fiscal policy?
Stephen?
So the first two issues that I think are facing the city right now is transparency, as I brought up in my opening statement. Right now, what's going on is the current city council is either marginalizing or bypassing the planning commission. You're not getting your voice in the important decisions that the city council is making. Without that, issues aren't being fully vetted, and the council does not have the benefit of the people's intelligence and how it's going about. The next one is safety. I was a former deputy King County prosecutor. I prosecuted gang violence, I prosecuted juvenile crimes, and I prosecuted rape victims. I can tell you right now, putting your hands on your hip and staring people down is not an effective criminal and safety procedure. You need to call the police, and I want to give the backing to the police and the firefighters in this respect. Thank you.
Lynn?
Well, I agree with Janice on. I think growth is triggering our two biggest challenges, and that's transportation and affordable housing. But I want to tell you about a lot of the things that are going to be happening in the next 4 years. We received a federal TIFIA loan that's going to help us do the road projects up in the Spring District in advance of light rail coming in, saving the city a lot of money. We're implementing our transportation levy that just passed, and that's going to help us work on neighborhood congestion and safe routes to school. We're working on alternative forms of transportation. We're implementing the PED bike program, and we'll be opening up the East Rail Corridor, which will be a bike path all the way from Kirkland down to Renton. And in terms of housing, we just came out with our Affordable Housing Strategic Action Plan, which will guide our city in decision-making and ways to incentivize affordable housing, as well as creating a budget for it. You know, in the 4 years I've been on the council, we created 245 affordable units.
Okay, next question. We're going to start with Conrad Lee. With Amazon seeking a new home for HQ2, we are facing questions about other regions' ability to accommodate growth. How do you plan for Bellevue to retain and attract businesses?
Bellevue has been very fortunate because of its past council decisions that I'm part of it. We are building all the infrastructure necessary. We have Bellevue Corridor, Wilburton, downtown is going through the livability update, and I think it's important that we do have office spaces. We have planned, I would think, almost another 5 million square feet of space, and we have residential planning in the city of Bellevue, again, between the downtown and Bellevue Corridor and Wilburton area. So a lot of space we are already building, infrastructure exists. We probably have the best road systems in the state, and I think we're capable, we're ready to do business, and if Amazon wants to move to meet their needs, the only challenge, of course, is maybe not quite similar, is the housing cost is still very high. So it's important we do provide more creative,
Thank you, Conrad.
affordable housing.
Randy?
One of the things I learned in economics, is that diversity is strength. And we talk about that socially, but it's also true in economics. Did anybody here live here in '72 when Boeing had a serious downturn and there was talk about, with the last person leaving Seattle, please turn off the lights? That's what happens when you have a one company town. We need diversity. We need lots of small business. That provides economic stability. I intend to promote small businesses, to promote the kind of growth that can be kept up over decades, not over the next 2 years. Thank you.
My view is that Bellevue is, unlike Seattle, is a business-friendly city, and Sure
Can you
that.
speak up, please?
Okay.
Opposite problem.
We start my time over then? I feel that Bellevue is a business-friendly city, and I want to keep it that way, unlike Seattle. And I know that certain council members have already instructed the Economic Development Office to make a pitch to have Amazon consider Bellevue. I know that causes some consternation with neighborhood leaders about what that means for congestion. But look, the city has made some tremendous improvements and upgrades in our infrastructure, and over the next 10 years, we're going to start seeing the benefit of that, especially as it goes with our mode of transportation. We just passed the transportation levy. We're looking at more autonomous electric cars, ACEs, as the term is, the acronym is used all the time. And we will have that infrastructure to support a company like Amazon to come into Bellevue. And I agree with Raina. I think the more companies, the more diverse companies that we have is important. But Amazon, there's a few companies like Amazon that can maintain and increase the tax base, jobs, and we want to continue to grow in that growth corridor, as Conrad Lee mentioned, downtown Wilburton, Bell Red. That's where it needs to go. Thank you.
Carol?
Yeah, as a business owner, I'm really happy with the way Bellevue is run, but I think that we can even do things better. We need to make sure that we have a consistent energy and transportation, affordable housing. All of those factors contribute to whether a business is going to choose to come to Bellevue. We have an incredible diversity of high technology, biotechnology, different consulting companies, small businesses, large businesses. We need to keep that environment here. One of those, the transportation and the housing, I think, are making it difficult for businesses to site here in Bellevue, and we need to address those things. But I think we also need to address things like our permitting process. Make sure that those are streamlined. Make sure those are as efficient and effective as possible so that businesses can rely on and plan for their buildings and their modifications so that they can run their business effectively and not be stopped by government regulations.
Lynn?
We're building the kind of city that businesses thrive on. Our investments in infrastructure in advance of growth is a recipe for our success. We have lots of room to grow in while still protecting our neighborhoods. I'm really excited to see the growth that we'll be seeing in downtown, Wilburton, Eastgate, and the Bell Red corridor.
You? Stephen?
So, once again, what we need to do is give incentives and protect not only large businesses like the companies I work for, Microsoft and Boeing, but also the small mom and pop store. I was a partner in 2 law firms, both specializing in intellectual property. What I did is I actually represented small inventors and small startup companies. I talked to them. We need to get their ideas out and helping them go forward. I think the Eastgate area, as it went through the Planning Commission, is a great place for these people to come into. And that's where we should put our investment in there, rather than putting a homeless shelter in this place that was designed for high-tech industry. Thank you.
Philip?
Big business, small business, obviously they are both important. I had a chance to meet with the CEO of T-Mobile not too long ago, and we had this exact same discussion. In fact, they basically told me they're not sure they're even welcome to be in Bellevue. Maybe they would move. And this is an honest discussion that we have to have with ourselves, is how much do we want to keep these large businesses and their employee base of 5,000 employees right here in Bellevue? And I said, absolutely, we want you to stay in Bellevue. There's no question about it. Then you think about the small businesses. And I'm optimistic. You look at places like WeWork, if you haven't been downtown Bellevue, that place is a hub of innovation and entrepreneurism and is the best of Bellevue. The people who are going to keep and attract businesses to this city are sitting right here in this room. You are going to tell your friends what a great place this is to do business, or maybe not. And that's why we have to keep working hard to make sure that you are happy so that you can share the good news about our great city. Thank you.
Janice?
Well, I would say this is what I know. Businesses have ups and down cycles, and what businesses need are jobs and local talent. So what we need to do is make sure that we have both the physical infrastructure of roads, broadband, those things that they need to make sure that their businesses thrive, as well as the human capital of making sure that we actually have people that can work in those jobs, because businesses are going to come when they know that they actually can thrive here with having the right talented people. We also need to be looking at our policies to make sure that we have the right balance of being permissive versus prescriptive. When I look at some of our policies, they are so prescriptive that it's hard for businesses to figure out how to be successful and thrive. We need to be looking at those and cleaning those pieces up. Thank you.
Okay, next question. I'm not even going to tell you how long my commute took this morning, if that gives you a hint. Where should the city be placing its highest priorities in transportation investments? Ben, let's start with you.
So, transportation is an issue. I mean, trying to get across both from where I live over the Lake Hills area to downtown is hard. We need both high-tech and low-tech solutions. That's what I've been advocating ever since I've been running here. My background in engineering, I understand transportation studies. I understand statistics. I understand planning. I understand code from my legal background. I work for the FAA. I address code and how to do this. So right now, I would try to do on the main thoroughfares, basically kind of like an airplane, a spoke and hub system. In that respect, that's what King County Metro is starting to do. And then build out from there. Because what you need is a feeder. You need feeders going to a main stem to your main technology areas to move people back and forth. Thank you.
Lynn?
I think the transportation investments that we're making are the way to go, and we're just beginning to see the benefits of those transportation investments. That TIFIA loan, which is a federal loan that we received this year, is going to do so much for creating the road work in advance of light rail coming into the Spring District. We're looking at finding alternative ways for people to have transportation, and we're using technology with video analytics at our intersections to make sure that it's safe for our pedestrians and bikes to be in our intersections in the city. We're investing in ways to give people choices and way to get into town, whether it be light rail, bus, bike, or walk, or Uber, or electric cars and automated cars. So we're making those investments, and we'll be seeing the benefits of that.
Randy?
Well, I have an electric car, and it's great, but I can promise you, a car is still a car. It takes up the same amount of space as even a Cadillac. We need more public transportation, and the biggest issue really is last mile. Getting from where Metro drops you off today to where you want to be. What that means is we need more bus routes. We need more frequent service. It's going to mean smaller buses. It's going to cost a little bit more, but until you make bus traffic, mass transit, quick and easy, people won't take it. I've been to Australia, Sydney in 2000. You could get from any point to any point in the city in just about 40 minutes. If Australia can do it, why can't we?
Conrad?
We have to look at multimodal solutions. We are looking at regional systems. 405 is very key. We need to open up the roads, more capacity. We need to do different things. And local last mile is very important. We talk about congestion. So we need to look at autonomous vehicles, very different ideas of, again, multimodal transportation system. So we need to look at private-public partnership. We need to see how we can be more creative, like all the technology that's been mentioned. So transportation is a choice, and I think we have to provide choices. We have to make sure we're more efficient. We have to look at technology. We have to look at what we can do, and all this, including people's choice. I think it's important to do so.
Janice?
Wow, this subject is near and dear to my heart. I'm an engineer. I've served on transportation commissions and been engaged at the national level. And here's what I believe we need. We do need multimodal level of service, but really more broadly for our area, we need to be advocating to get the transit that we need out of Metro King County, so we're not this transit desert over here on the east side. We need to be advocating in Olympia to get the 405 master plan built faster, the ramp that's at 520, because at the end of the day, We need to focus regionally to make sure that goods, services, and people can move, as well as locally making sure that we are looking at the technology, how we use Uber, Lyft, and other advanced transportation technologies, and getting the multimodal working throughout our city.
Philip?
I don't want to wait. We need to get going. Bellevue's been successful in synchronizing lights. I think that has helped. We need to continue that progress in moving people off the freeways, onto the arterials, and into the residential areas where they obviously live. We need to create more, what I call giant turtles in the middle of intersections to reduce the number of stoplights, if you will. That also helps ease in terms of speeding and also keeps people moving as well. The other idea that was brought up was the use of shoulders on the side of freeways, and many of you have seen, you exit a freeway and you see these open shoulders, and you're wondering, gosh, there's a lot of concrete here we could use that's not being used. And it's been successfully explored in other parts of the states, and there's no reason why we can't consider that as well. There are some low-hanging fruits that we can do. Obviously, we're going to work with state and other local officials to achieve longer-range plans, but we have an immediate need now that needs to be addressed and can be addressed.
Carol?
Well, not to make anybody jealous, but my commute involves 3 stop signs and a left turn because I got to decide where I live and where I work. But not everybody gets those choices, and we need to really work on making sure our transit works because it's impacting our economy and our quality of life. We need more access to bus routes. I don't believe any resident in Bellevue should be more than 1 mile from a bus stop so that we can get to work, to school, and to social occasions quickly, easily, and affordably. We need to focus more of our development near transit hubs so to increase access from residents' homes to their transportation options. We need to strengthen our regional partnerships and work with other cities to connect our regional transit routes with those of our neighboring cities like Newcastle, Issaquah, Redmond, and Kirkland. We need to add new bus access lanes so our buses aren't stuck in the same traffic with everyone else, and prioritize our traffic signals to move people faster and easier throughout our city.
Jared?
Well, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but over the next 10 years, the city is going to see some massive increases in infrastructure and for every mode of transportation. And while that's great, it's still not going to be enough, and we need to have more mobility options. Light rail is not going to be the only option. It's not going to solve our only issue as it comes to transportation. And that's why I think it's so important that we continue to look at technology. I'm a tech guy, I've worked in the tech sector for many years. We need to keep looking at it, such as autonomous electric cars that can get people from place to place, where millennials, that's their preferred method of travel. But then we also need to start executing on these other plans, such as the Bellevue Bike Network. The bus system needs to increase. I agree with my other opponents here that we need more stops, we need more buses, we need more routes. That's right there. Let's get going on that now, because that will give us some immediate relief. And then also the bicycle ped plan, and also the passing of the transportation levy and TIFIA loan is going to help with all these issues and provide more roads as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that relief and congestion in not only downtown, but in the neighborhoods as well.
Thank you. Okay, we're halfway through. Do we need a halfway stretch? Okay. How would you tackle affordable housing? Let's start with Philip Yin.
Well, it's funny because the byproduct of affordable housing is the recent recession that somehow Seattle somewhat escaped, but we still felt the impact of it, and that was a lot of developers ultimately stopped developing. So there was a shortage of supply, and then of course we had this burst of growth, and all these folks, had these great jobs here in Seattle and Bellevue, and we didn't have enough housing for them. I think there's a real issue of affordable housing is the fact that there simply isn't enough supply. And I know that the vision plan, which is basically congregating, or I should say aggregating the growth in downtown Bellevue along the Spring District, providing apartments, homes. We're simply not going to build enough single-family homes to accommodate everybody. So you either go out or you go up. And of course, Bellevue's adopted to go up. I would support that plan. I want to make sure that plan gets implemented as quickly as possible. And ultimately, that's good for the long-term success of our city.
Janice?
I would say that definitely supply has not kept up with demand, that coming out of the recession, I don't think anyone fully understood how explosive the growth would be in our region. And what we need to do is be looking at different partnerships, public-private partnerships. We need to be looking at those policies, like I mentioned earlier with the MFTE. If no developer has leveraged that, why? We should be looking at what other incentives that we could be taking advantage of. We need to be working with the communities to figure out where communities might be willing to have these mother-in-law apartments. And how do we also look at the housing affordability so that folks can actually stay in their home instead of moving? How do we make sure that we are creating a whole menu of ideas to look at housing affordability, because no one solution is going to take care of the huge gap we have between the supply and the demand issue that we have in our city.
Lynn?
I'm actually really proud of the work that we are already doing on affordable housing in Bellevue. We haven't seen the results of it because we have yet to implement it, but we spent an entire year working with a team of experts, some of whom are in the room, trying to come up with an affordable housing strategic action plan. And this was based on the needs of our city. We looked at the Bellevue Needs Update, which is done every 2 years. We didn't just look at the whole region. We looked specifically at what Bellevue needs, what our population needs. And then we asked these experts to come up with a strategy that's going to help Bellevue to hopefully create 110 affordable units a year for the next 10 years. That's going to include incentives with development, and we're going to have to put a budget in to try to get the deeper affordabilities beneath the 80% area median income.
Stephen?
Affordable housing didn't occur overnight. It's been going on, and as Ms. Robinson said, Bellevue, the city, hasn't implemented a plan yet. And so we're a victim of our own success. So right now, when I'm talking to builders, developers, their complaint is the permitting process, unbearable regulations. We need to look at those regulations, see if we can streamline those and get the permits to build more supply out there in that respect, and also target different types of housing to target different types of people in different social economic statuses. You don't concentrate only on low income, you concentrate on the people just graduating from college. You have homes for that. You look at all of those actions, and you put that all together in a holistic approach, and it won't totally cure it, but it'll be a big step forward.
Jared?
The city and the council assembled a team of experts in the community and on this affordable housing issue, and I think they did a great job. Now I think it's time that we need to look at executing on that plan so we can see that fruition and hopefully see more supply. I also support the continuation of funding of ARCH. In fact, if I'm the city council, I would advocate that we double the amount of money that we're giving to ARCH. But I'd also like to see us get away from kind of name calling or looking at developers, really home builders, as a negative. That needs to change. They're our partner in this. We need to help them build more supply, and that's going to help us with our affordable housing, as well as touching on this MFTE. You know, you won't hear me very often say that we need to look to Seattle, but Seattle has gotten this a little bit more right than we have, because as Janice noted, that's actually resulted in 0 affordable housing units in Bellevue. I'd also like to see that streamlining of the permitting process, because quite frankly, when I talk to developers, they pay more just to get the right answer
Thank you,
the first
Jared.
time. Thank you.
Carol?
Yeah, I do want to give compliments to Lynn Robinson and the rest of the council for developing the strategic action plan and really addressing this problem and looking at multiple factors and multiple policies that we're going to need to make sure that we have an adequate supply of affordable housing. We do need to increase our housing stock by encouraging the building of affordable housing, especially next to transit hubs. I'd like to see an expansion of property taxes for senior citizens to ensure that they're able to remain in their homes even though their property taxes have gone up dramatically. We need to ensure their developers pay their fair share into affordable housing funds aimed at building and retaining affordable housing units. And we also need to create more family wage jobs here in Bellevue so that those who work here can afford to live here.
Conrad?
Well, Bellevue affordable housing is a challenge because of we're the victims of our success. Desirable Bellevue, people want to come here, supply and demand. We all understand that. And we have to look at our supply, look at how to develop more innovative, creative type of homes. That's for all people, of all ages, all conditions. I mean, right now, I represent the senior, the retired people. They can afford to live here. And so we have to figure out what can be done. So we have to look at this, and we have to figure out, the program that we are working very successfully is Arch, I believe, and they've done a great job. And however, it's not enough. We need to continue to do more, and we have to look at other places. How do we make, people have made a lot of suggestions, a lot of ideas, but the key is how can we do it? How can we implement it? How can we afford it? We need to start the process. We need to begin it. We need to look at it very comprehensively, and we need to learn from other places, and we need to look at permitting, all the stuff.
Thank you, Conrad.
Thank you.
Randy?
Well, first, I'd like to applaud the council for looking out a ways. To be honest with you, I've built houses, and it takes a while to build a new house. It takes longer to build an apartment block. And frankly, we need a strategic plan that is looking out, as it does now, more than 5 years. 10 years would be better. And I will respectfully disagree with a few people. The pent-up demand in a growing area, once the economy got back on its feet, was both predictable and predicted. That's called economics. It's not that hard. But what do we do about it now? There's not any really easy answers to fix what we have now. We're going to have to do the best we can. I'd like to introduce an interesting idea called quality improvement. It's not new, it's not sexy, but it
Thank you,
would take
Randy.
care of some of those regulations you're talking about.
All right, we're going to keep you on the hot seat, Randy. You're going to start this next question, so don't get too comfortable. Around the country, cities are facing unique diversity issues. What is a unique diversity challenge in Bellevue, and how would you work to address it?
I don't know how unique it is, but frankly, the one that I see, that I've seen working in the region, I'm a high school sports official, is the fact that too many of us think that there's not a problem. And really, it still exists. It's better than it used to be, or excuse me, the people who have been sat on the most tell me that it's better than it used to be. That doesn't mean it's perfect. I don't have any easy answers, but talking about it might be a good first step.
Conrad?
Well, I'm the face of diversity. Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate welcome that with Bellevue's motto is we welcome the world. Diversity is our strength. However, together with diversity comes with challenges. Challenges of new immigrants coming here, people who have barriers, many of which that we can overcome. And the city is doing a great job of a diversity advantage team and effort. However, it's not enough because it's a new challenge. The challenges happen so rapidly. I think one of the challenges is how to make the connections, how to have diverse people, new immigrants to engage in our community at all levels. And look again, in politics, in corporate levels, we need to encourage them, teach them, help them, support them, provide connections, build bridges. So it is important. It's an area that we have to build infrastructure ourselves within the city, within the community, within the private public space. So that's one challenge we have to work
Carol?
on.
Yeah, as an immigration attorney, I work with diverse communities every day. And I think right now the biggest concern in those communities is fear. There's a great deal of fear among immigrant communities because of the actions of our president and some of the rhetoric that is coming out of the White House. I was really proud to be involved in an outreach effort right after the election when I think the city sensed a great deal of fear, both in the Latino community, in the Muslim community, and other people of color. As a majority city, we need to do everything in our power to make sure all of our residents feel welcomed, feel wanted, and feel secure. In that community outreach effort that we did right after the election, I was so proud that our head of the school board, our city manager, our head of our police force, our head of the fire department were all there. And they invited me as an immigration attorney to answer the questions, the real questions and concerns that people had
Thank you.
about being deported.
Jared?
I'm not sure we have necessarily unique diversity issues here, but I think Bellevue has set the tone very nicely in terms of diversity is our strength. When you start with that motto, I think we are welcoming the world. I think we are setting a tone that you are welcome here. We want you here. We want you to live in this fantastic city that we call Bellevue, to live, work, and play. I only look at to what happened when the Muslim mosque burnt down very close to my house in East Bellevue. The reaction by the community, the reaction from the Lake Hills Neighborhood Association, from the Bellevue City Council was tremendous. And I thought that set a tone to all other communities, diverse communities around Bellevue, that we want you here, you're an important part of our community, and when something affects you, it affects us, and we're going to be there for you.
Janice?
I would say that with Bellevue being that majority minority, where more than 50% are diverse, and then 42% of people speak a language other than English in their home, we need to be more bridge builders. We need to figure out ways to create more connections to people. Bellevue has grown so quickly that there are a lot of communities that don't necessarily connect and know each other. And I would say that this is where, unlike Seattle, where there are lots of different organizations that reach out to these communities, Bellevue has a void in that area, where if we look at all of the different communities, how do they find each other, especially the ones that don't speak English as a native language? And that is both the families as well as the seniors in our community, that many seniors actually don't speak English, but they're here because their family is here. How do we connect with them and make sure that they do feel welcome and that this is their home?
Thank you. Philip?
I could not be more proud of Bellevue's ability to embrace diversity. When I travel around the country, I often talk about Bellevue and how great it is, and for my friends that visit here from different parts of the country, and I won't say which parts of the East Coast, they are shocked at how diverse we are and how well we get along. And all of that is thanks to you. You have made that possible. The people of Bellevue ultimately decide on how we embrace diversity. Now, there are challenges with new immigrants and new people moving in here. And I would just say this, I would like to see them engaged in the civic process, knowledgeable about the civic process, and that takes all of us to invite them into the civic process.
Stephen?
Well, you might find it hard to believe, but I come from a very diverse family. My sister-in-law is Hispanic, she comes from Mexico. My godmother and my cousins were all Native American. My basically adopted brother is named Paulie. He's my best man. I've lived in Japan. I represent pro bono on immigration matters. Diversity means more than what your genetic makeup is. It means diverse of thought and experience. I like to welcome those people that come into our country and in our areas. I think the greatest thing that I've done or what we've done in East Bellevue is the Muslim faith when they have their open house. They've reached out to the community, welcomed us into theirs. They're a prime example how to build those bridges that everybody says to do, but it's more an education point. We got to learn about their faith, and they got to learn more about the Christian faith, and we had a great respective dialogue, and that's what we need throughout Bellevue.
Lynn?
Bellevue is really benefiting from the amazing diversity that we have. We have people from all over the world who want their children to have an excellent education. We have a great variety of restaurants, arts, and experiences, all celebrating the culture diverse culture that we have in Bellevue. But that comes with challenges, and the city has made a commitment to helping our residents understand diversity and embrace it and understand each other through cultural conversations. Our human services pay for support services for people who come to the country and don't have access to what they need right away. And our new school administrator is very committed to supporting diversity in the school district.
All right, stay right there. We're keeping you in the hot seat.
Okay.
Lynn. This one's a fun one.
Oh, good.
What does Bellevue look like in 20 years?
Well, we're going to have a beautiful new skyline. We have some incredible buildings coming up in Bellevue that are just going to be beautiful. We're going to have a safe transportation options that will get you from point A to point B in a variety of different ways. That'll be much easier to do. We'll have people who, instead of commuting from Puyallup to work in Bellevue, can actually afford to live here and to live right next to a transit so they can get to their job easily, and they'll have the choice of how they're going to get there. We're going to have more restaurants, more arts. I think we are about to embark on a journey of getting into the arts more with Bellevue, and I'm really excited about that. And we'll just continue to bring good neighbors to our city.
Stephen?
My vision for Bellevue is economic growth in all areas of technology, manufacturing, and the like. I work for Microsoft. I think one of the things I love seeing, and this might be sacrimonious to say, but I like seeing Facebook here. I like seeing Google coming here. I like to see competition, because with competition brings ideas. That is what Bellevue needs, and that's what Bellevue has. What we also need is development from developers and people to build those skylines that people are talking about. But we need a vision. We need great architects with what Bellevue should look like and have buy-in from people that are willing to build nice big buildings and basically artistic in that respect. Thank you.
Philip?
Well, Bellevue is already an example of how to do things right with respect to the business community, and in 20 years, I hope that's exactly the same as well. I will say this one thing, though. The carpool lane rule might have to be revised if we have these self-driving cars, because you're going to have empty cars going down the freeway, so maybe a party of one is considered a carpool in 20 years, and if Jerry gets his flying cars, maybe we'll have to change the rules there. But, you know, it's hard to say, but I can tell you that you need strong leadership. You need to guide us towards that path of that vision of having this balance between the business interests, the neighborhood's interests, and of course, all the great families that live in Bellevue.
Janice?
I would say that I envision that Bellevue continues to be a thriving city, that we're an innovation leader, that we have arts, culture, economic development. We're going to have more partnership opportunities like the GIX, where we bring the best minds together and that we are seen as that global leader. Actually, I'm going to say nationally, not just locally, and that we are going to lean in and say yes to technology and innovation and have that courage in our vision to get there first instead of being second, third, waiting for someone else to do something, because we absolutely have the talent here and the vision and the leadership to make it happen.
Jared?
Yeah, I want us to think big. I want us to maintain and enhance that status as a global leader. I think Janice is correct. If we look at partnerships like the GIX and others, we're going to continue to attract amazing talent, amazing jobs, amazing companies, and I want to maintain that. But at the same time, I also want to protect the unique character of our neighborhoods. I think that's very, very important. I love the growth sector and what we can do in those areas, but I think protecting that quality of life, protecting the unique character of those neighborhoods is just as important, and I think we need to maintain that focus there as much as I want us to see us grow and be that global leader now and in the future.
Carol?
So my vision for the future of Bellevue is a city that balances growth with improving and enhancing our quality of life. I want to see a connected and caring community that we can all be proud of and that all of our residents can thrive in. A city with affordable housing, with that restaurant workers, our social workers, school teachers, police officers can actually afford to live here and where they work. And I want to see safety and security for all of our residents in a place we call home. And I'd love to see transportation options, including light rail, buses, walking, biking, that is connected and integrated and that actually works effectively. And I want to see Bellevue really grow into itself as its own city, not in comparison to Seattle, but ourselves in our own right, really embracing our unique qualities.
Conrad?
Bellevue has been very unique. We have a great neighborhood. At the same time, we have a great city, viable. And in the future, I believe this is going to be a global city, I vision it. It's going to be people from all over the world that will be striving toward the same vision that we have today. Through technology, through great living. The most important thing is the people will be all together, getting what they are here for. It's really to provide a great place for the children, to raise family, great school system. And we're talking about all these great improvements, challenges we face. We will be continuing to face future challenges, but there will be things that will unite people together. We'll be talking about how we can work best for our community. And I think this economy is very important. We need to have a continuing the vitality of the business community, the downtown. I label it as the goose that lays the golden egg, but at the same time maintaining the neighborhood quality of life, which is important to everybody who
Thank you,
comes to
Conrad.
Bellevue.
Randy?
In 20 years, well, I hope to be off the council by then. But we're going to have another 50,000 people or so by then, and we should be caught up. We'll be caught up with housing, both affordable and more luxurious for those who have the pocketbook for it. We're going to have a blend of blue-collar workers as well as white-collar workers and business owners. Everybody's going to have room to be here. The driverless cars that everyone is so enamored of will finally be online and available in large numbers by then. It takes time to replace infrastructure like that. There's no way of getting around it. It's going to be a pretty great city. Our parks are going to be here. I think we're going to be able to extend them a little bit, and we're going to be working closer with our neighbors to the north and south. And that's an inevitable part of growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I wanted to take this time to thank the Bellevue Downtown Association, and Patrick Bannon, thank you for asking me to moderate this forum. Patrick and I go way back, well over a decade, when I was a rookie reporter, so we've had a strong partnership for a long time. So thank you.
Okay, Carrie, I'm going to take the last section here because we're going to do closing remarks. So we're going to give the candidates one last opportunity to speak their piece. And I believe we're going to begin with Lynn Robinson here on the end, and we'll progress down the table.
Well, I've been on the council for 4 years now, and during that time, I've increased the police budget, brought back the bike patrol, reinstated our neighborhood enhancement funds, passed a transportation levy, passed a fire levy that'll put a fire station in our downtown. I've helped create affordable office space for our startups and brought in hearing assistive devices to our public buildings. I've helped hire an excellent city manager, police chief, and fire chief. We've kept our city financially stable and our local tax rates low. I'm so excited for the next 4 years and continuing the work that I've done on the Bellevue City Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to many of you today. It's the first time you probably met me. Bellevue has some great opportunities and great challenges coming up to it, facing it. It needs critical, analytical thinkers that uses data to come to solutions. I've been called prickly in the press, and that's because I question. People feel a little bit uncomfortable when you ask hard questions. It's to get to the truth, to get to the better idea. Even Mayor Stokes called me a good person. I think he means a good person at heart. But he doesn't appreciate the hard questions as the city council does. So when people bring up questions and studies, you can count on me to question, to get to the truth, to get to the hard selection. I don't care where that solution is. I don't care who brings it up. I don't care what political party you are. If you have the best solution, I will support it, and I will be your advocate, not only for the community, but for the business people, because together we can grow to a big city.
All right. Bellevue is thriving. I would say that that's good for all of us. And I believe that Bellevue needs and deserves a proven leader who can hit the ground running. Bellevue is the 5th largest city in the state, and we are such a leader in so many areas. So I'm going to say this. It's a little bit like when you want to go to the doctor. Who are you going to go to? Somebody that has proven experience of having worked in government and private, has experience as an engineer in writing policy, bringing people together to solve problems? Or do you want somebody that has great ideas and intentions, But at the end of the day, it doesn't have the impact and the effectiveness that we're looking for, because every dollar that we spend is our dollar, and how we spend it absolutely matters. So for me, that's what it's all about, is how do we keep Bellevue thriving, an economic center that works for everybody, and neighborhoods work, and communities work, and we are thriving.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you. It's fantastic to see so many old friendly faces and meeting so many new friends here in Bellevue. I can tell you, as a former journalist and as a father and of course a longtime resident here in Bellevue, I'm grateful for what we have here in Bellevue and the conversations we're having. When you think about the future of Bellevue, I often think about, you look at the scene that we have here today and the challenges that confront us. We're blessed to be facing those challenges. I will have an open door policy. I need your help. You are ultimately the key to the future of Bellevue. I've been endorsed by nearly every major business group in Bellevue, including the East Side Business Alliance. So I am grateful for that. If elected, I will work tirelessly on your behalf to make sure that your businesses grow, our citizens are protected, and we're going to keep our city fantastic. Thank you.
I have a record of substantial engagement with the community, with neighborhoods, and volunteerism. Why is that important? Because I understand the issues and I can hit the ground running on day one. I'm an independent, nonpartisan individual. I will not bring a hyperpartisan mentality or ideology to the Bellevue City Council. I am only going to be beholden to one thing, and that's the citizens of Bellevue. Because I don't believe that there is a Republican way to run a city or a Democrat way to run a city. I only believe that there's a right way to run a city. And I want Bellevue solutions to Bellevue's challenges, not Seattle solutions to our challenges. I believe that's very important. I've been endorsed by the Seattle Times, Master Builders, the EBA, and even neighborhood groups like Sense. I've been endorsed by council members Lee, Robertson, Seamus, and Wallace. Most importantly, I've been endorsed by neighborhood leaders throughout this city. From Bridle Trails to Lake Hills, from Eastgate to Surrey Downs, they all believe in me, they've looked at my record, and they've endorsed me. Thank you.
I really want to thank you and appreciate the time and the interest and the attention that you've brought to these discussions. It's really great to see so many people this interested in city race at 7 o'clock in the morning. So thank you very much for being here. I'm running for Bellevue City Council because I want to make a difference in this city that I love. I want to continue to have a thriving economy, world-class schools, affordable housing, transportation, parks, and arts and culture, and a quality of life that we all can enjoy. We need a city council that really puts people first, that brings people together, and solves real problems. Now, I've been endorsed by every single one of our state legislators and senators. I've been endorsed by Mayor John Stokes and Bellevue City Councilwoman Lynn Robinson. And I've also been endorsed by the Bellevue firefighters, the Washington Conservation Voters, the Martin Luther King Labor Council, and local unions. But the most important support I need is yours and the people of the residents of Bellevue, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Wait.
That's all you?
Now I can finish up my opening statement. we now have the opportunity, Bellevue, to go to a great city. And we see, it's nice to see so many new blood on the council who are going to be interested. And you can tell these are smart people with a lot of great ideas and good intentions. But it's important to have someone like me who have the proven experience, leadership, and judgment to help make it happen. I'm the grown-up in the room. Let's do the right thing the right way. Seattle Times agrees. In its recommendation endorsement of me, it says, Conrad Lee wants Bellevue to make progress while remaining fiscally responsible. Bellevue voters should choose Lee as a council member concerned about the entire city. He clearly has demonstrated a commitment to meeting the needs of his community. Thank you.
Well, Bellevue really is a great city, and in the past few months, I've walked a fair bit of it. I've talked with a lot of people. And that's why I stayed here instead of moving out like so many others. But we still have needs. We've got to get better housing. We've got transit needs that need to be met today, not 20 years from now. And we're starting to get that long-term vision. We need a solution for the next 5, the next 10. That means we're going to need new houses. We're going to need general building in the right places at the right time in the right way. I have the vision that you need to do this. I see the trends before they become apparent, and it's just not it's essential to do that. And we need everyone, not just developers. Thank you.
Right. So we've reached the conclusion of our program. I have a few closing remarks. If you could join me, first of all, in thanking Carrie Rodriguez, our moderator. Carrie and the Bellevue Reporter. And then please join me in a hearty round of thanks and recognition for our candidates who have courageously entered the ring of the election process and public service. I would like to thank our breakfast series sponsors, Fortin Group, Kaiser Permanente, and Puget Sound Bank. Thank you for your support. This program, if you would like to watch the greatest hits version, I'm told will be available tomorrow on the city's YouTube channel, the Bellevue College YouTube channel, and on Channel 21. So check it out when you can. One thought. I think back 20 years, and if I did the math correctly, downtown Bellevue represented about 1.5% of the city's population. Today, it's about 10% of the city's population. So thank you for moving forward in partnership and collaboration with the downtown community. I wish you well in your journey. And everyone here, thank you for coming and have a great day.